knows that it is important that they win right now, Wiggy. Not next week,
Right.
and not in early September, which is right around the corner, but right now in this series. And they got it done thanks in a large part to Duran Duran last night. So you're optimistic. I can't remember. I know you got a bag of merch. So from time to time, you're very optimistic about the Red Sox.
They're a good baseball team. Like he said, that's scrappy and they compete. And it's going to, if you look at them, they struggled so much after the All-Star break. Now it's just in a position where when you watch them, it's going to be, they're going to be teasing us all the way until the end of the season. The question is, the one that we're going to ask is, do they leave us hanging, or do they do just enough to make sure they get in and give us some juice to say, all right, it's the postseason, let's see what you can do.
Are you saying the Red Sox final push is like Shime's foot photo on the beach, just teasing us?
No, that would be, Shime's feet ain't teasing nobody. We're ready to move on from that. They're like that girl. It's like, oh, maybe I get lucky after the dance. She was showing me some love on the dance floor. And then you get back and she's like, yeah, no, I got to go.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm tired. My parents are home.
I don't know. What they did at the deadline in retrospect is
insufficient.
It's like trickery. It's like you knew that you needed to address pitching. You knew, you would have loved to see them truly address the starter role, and they didn't really. You got a guy that was DFA'd by somebody else, and then you were gonna, you're hoping that you're doing something bullpen wise that is gonna allow you, at least when your offense gets you a lead, to hold on and win the baseball games. And so,
but everybody liked the Garcia move. Everybody liked that. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's a good setup guy." Everybody was on. I think you asked the question when it was for Paxton. Would you like to see him return? Right, and everybody liked that. I think we're just like,
Wiggy, we can like things in a moment, and we can say in hindsight they didn't do enough. It both can be true. We could have been wrong in the moment thinking they did enough, but in hindsight, they clearly didn't do enough.
In hindsight, see, I think now you're straddling the fence, because you either got to say they didn't do enough, or they did what they were supposed to do, what you asked for, and they did it. Now they're just not performing up to the level that you was expecting after they made these acquisitions. You can't go on both sides of the fence. Go like,
of course you can. We don't run the baseball operation. We can say, I'm happy they did something. I'm happy they extended Cora.
So what would you give my man Craig as far as a grade for the trade deadline?
C.
Yeah, I lean. I mean, maybe a B minus. I will wait. I will anxiously await to see how it plays out. I just think that they went to the dollar store. Now, I agree with you that not only us, but Red Sox fans were saying, please just do something. You go back to that period of time.
Yep.
They were winning more than they were losing. And so Red Sox fans said, please add. And they did add.
And they added.
But they went to the dollar store.
Oh.
And they also at the same time, virtually the same time, announced that they had re-signed Alex Cora as a way to get you to look at that and to look at the shiny new object, which is a 3-year deal for Alex Cora. And so
that's what you wanted, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's like,
but there was no flash. There was no flash, which I think Red Sox fans are yearning for. They wanted acquisitions, but they wanted it to be somebody that is
like who? Right, and that's what I mean. We need baseball Brett for that. Like, who was the flash that you would have been like, all right, great job?
I don't know. You brought up a few big names and over again.
Yeah, big name bats. But
yeah.
we're talking about.
I think if they had
not the issue.
I think if they had added a big name bat, people would be less concerned or upset about the lackluster of the pitching staff that they added.
Right, but if the reason you're losing games is because of your bullpen.
Well, how do you protect yourself against a bad bullpen?
You got Casas back.
You get better starting pitching, so you don't need as much of your bullpen to pitch in those games. They've had the worst ERA in baseball since the trade deadline.
Right.
So maybe you trade for Jack Flaherty, who went to the Dodgers.
Right, but if you're
who in 3 starts is in 16 innings, giving up 6 earned runs, nothing, or 18 innings, nothing great, but better than what you've been having.
Right, but if your issue is like your bullpen and your starting pitching has been good enough where you've had leads, and you say, well, how many games have they lost where they were leading by a run or two after the 5th or 6th inning? Can't really blame that on the starters. Right?
No, I know. You blame it on the players.
Yeah, I think.
Which is, you have guys on this team, young guys on this team, who have definitely overperformed expectation-wise this season. So I find it hard to blame the players. Like, you had an entire offseason where you could have gone and spent big, and, you really didn't. So,
but the players have shown us that they can play. Like, the players
in general have played above what you thought they were going to play. The young guys, at least.
So then the expectation is higher for them moving forward. So I just think that them losing steam at the end of the season, you're an MLB player. You know how long the season is. You know how many games there are. It can't happen 3 years in a row and it just be a coincidence.
Right. I think the players that you added were solid players. It was what you were looking to add. They just haven't performed well here, right? And so it's not on the front office. You went out and got guys that you would think, okay, they could help your team, but they're just not performing well. So I think that's the thing. I don't criticize the front office for that. I criticize the players and to some part the managers and the coaches for maybe not being able to get the best out of those players for whatever reasons those might be.
So you're saying when you look at...
What grade do you give them at the deadline, Wiggy?
I gave them a B.
Easy grader.
Yeah, I gave them a B. I thought they added multiple pitches.
Who stunk.
They've not played well here.
But that's on the players, you're saying. So you look at Garcia or you look at Sims or whatever.
Wait, what a way to do this. If the players play well, it goes to Breslow. If they play bad, it's on the player.
No. I wouldn't.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to with him because
I would give Breslow the credit for getting guys.
But if they don't perform, it's on the player.
Yeah, but if they perform well, I'd still give the player credit.
But okay.
You can't. If they didn't do anything, Curtis, you would have complained.
They didn't really do anything. They didn't trade a top prospect for anybody.
Okay, what's your complaint? They didn't trade a top.
Jack Flaherty. I would have traded a top 5.
Jack Flaherty.
I would have traded for Nathan Eovaldi. Boom, boom.
All right.
And then you get better starting pitchers. So I think Tanner Houck is about to hit a limit of some kind. Ken and I were talking about this. He follows this more closely than I do. But maybe you're able to not rely on Tanner Houck to start if he's closing in on an innings limit, and then he becomes your 7-8 guy out of the pen, a la Daniel Bard in 07-08 with the Sox. So you're able to.
Who's that, Tanner Houck?
Yeah,
but he don't want to be a bullpen guy. He wants
but he has to protect his arm. It's for his own interest that they're going to have an innings limit, so his shoulder does not damage early in his career.
That's why he only goes 5 innings.
He only had 90 pitches in his last start. So instead of having him start going 90 pitches, you have him out of the pen like they did last year.
This is Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning, guys. Quick thought along the Red Sox here, which I think we need to all pay attention to. Everybody got real excited right before the All-Star break, trading deadline, playing great. We've got to remember, if you look at the schedule at that point in time, they were really taking advantage of a weak schedule. They weren't playing high-quality teams. The schedule flips to post-All-Star break, and look who they came out of having to play out of that All-Star break. Statistically, the Red Sox have the hardest schedule in Major League Baseball post-All-Star break. I know they didn't do enough, but the level of competition that they faced has gone up dramatically, and that's what's really causing the issues, is that they're a good team, not a great team, but the teams they're playing right now are great teams.
Yeah.
So I think we got to remember that.
They are playing good baseball teams right now, and their schedule is very difficult. But I don't – see, we're having the discussion on, do we feel like – because the question was before the trade deadline, what we saw the past few years where they were basically inactive, not doing anything.
Well, okay, but this happens. This thing.
Yep.
Which we are witnessing, unfortunately, right now has happened in August
Yep.
with this baseball team
Yep.
for the last 4 years minus one.
Right.
So the question becomes why, and you can blame it on the players if you want, but you can also look at it and go, you are not roster-wise giving them enough talent to get over the hump when it comes to this post All-Star break August period.
I would
where
agree
they
with you
struggle.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that the past 2 years or last year and the year before. But this year I felt like they gave you enough players. You just continue to struggle, and part of that could be your schedule is very difficult.